Chapter 3 dives deep into one of the most critical principles of human interaction, the ability to arouse in others an eager want. Carnegie explains that people are primarily driven by their own desires, not yours. If you want to influence someone, you must first understand what they want and frame your requests or ideas in a way that speaks to their interests. This chapter teaches that empathy, truly putting yourself in the other person's shoes, is key to this approach. When was the last time you did something you didn't want to do? Chances are, it was because you saw some benefit in doing it, whether it was avoiding a negative consequence or gaining something you valued. Carnegie calls this principle the ability to arouse in others an eager want. The point is simple: if you want someone to take action, you need to show them why it's in their best interest. Only then will they feel motivated to act. The core of this chapter centers around this fundamental truth: people are motivated by their desires. To influence someone, you must first understand their desires and frame your request or message in terms of what they stand to gain. Let's break this down. Imagine you're a manager at a company and you need your team to put in extra hours to finish a project. You could demand that they work late, citing company goals or your own needs. But will that inspire them? Probably not. They'll likely comply, but begrudgingly. Now imagine approaching it differently. Instead of focusing on what you want, you explain the potential rewards for them. Perhaps working late will result in a bonus, or maybe it will open the door for career advancement. Suddenly, the team has a personal incentive to do the work. You've aroused in them an eager want. Empathy is at the heart of this principle. If you can truly understand the other person's perspective, their desires, fears, and motivations, you can craft your approach to speak directly to those feelings. Carnegie emphasizes this through various examples. Take Henry Ford, for instance. Ford's engineers insisted that developing a V8 engine in a single block was impossible. Ford didn't just demand results, he didn't berate his engineers for their doubts. Instead, he framed the task as a challenge, a monumental feat they could take pride in accomplishing. He appealed to their sense of innovation and their desire to push the boundaries of engineering. As a result, they worked tirelessly, and eventually, they succeeded. The lesson here is clear: Ford didn't focus on what he wanted. He appealed to what they wanted, the chance to be part of something groundbreaking. And in doing so, he inspired them to achieve what they once believed was impossible. Another example of this principle in action can be seen in the life of Charles Schwab. Schwab, one of the most successful businessmen of his time, didn't give orders in a traditional, authoritarian way. He understood that people don't respond well to commands. Instead, he sought to understand his employees' desires and use that knowledge to inspire them. Schwab once said, "The way to get things done is to stimulate competition." I do not mean in a sordid, money-getting way, but in the desire to excel. By fostering an environment where employees wanted to excel for their own satisfaction, Schwab tapped into their deepest motivations. He didn't need to push them to do their jobs because they already wanted to do it for themselves. One of the key messages of this chapter is that people are naturally self-interested. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's simply human nature. Carnegie explains that if you want to influence someone, you need to recognize this fact and speak directly to their interests. Think of a child who doesn't want to eat their vegetables. Telling them that vegetables are healthy and that you want them to eat won't likely have much impact. But what if you appeal to the child's desire to grow strong like their favorite superhero? Suddenly, the child sees the benefit for themselves, and they're much more likely to comply. Carnegie shares a similar story about a father whose son was smoking cigarettes. Instead of scolding him and demanding he quit, the father appealed to the boy's desire to be healthy and strong. By framing the request in terms of the boy's own goals, the father successfully convinced him to stop smoking, something demands alone could never have achieved. Carnegie revisits the golden rule in this chapter: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But he adds a twist. He suggests that while it's important to treat others well, you should also focus on how they want to be treated. This means going beyond your own preferences and considering what the other person truly values. For instance, some people might value public recognition for their hard work, while others might prefer a more private acknowledgement. To effectively motivate them, you need to understand how they want to be appreciated and adjust your actions accordingly. One of the best illustrations of this principle is the way Charles Schwab led his teams. Schwab didn't just order his employees around. He didn't rely on fear or authority to get things done. Instead, he made his employees want to succeed. Schwab was known for using praise and encouragement to arouse in his employees a desire to perform well. He understood that people respond more positively to appreciation and recognition than to criticism or demands. At one of his factories, Schwab noticed that his workers weren't meeting their daily production targets. Rather than scolding them, he walked over to a group of workers, took a piece of chalk, and drew a large number 6 on the floor. He explained that this represented how many units the previous shift had produced. The next day, when Schwab returned, the night shift had drawn an even larger number, 7, on the floor. This sparked a friendly competition between the two shifts, and soon, productivity soared. Schwab didn't order them to work harder, he simply aroused in them a desire to outdo their colleagues. By appealing to their sense of pride and competition, Schwab motivated his workers far more effectively than a stern lecture ever could. At its core, this chapter teaches that if you want to influence others, you must first focus on their interests, not yours. Carnegie explains that people are naturally motivated by their own goals, needs, and desires. If you want to persuade someone, you must first understand what drives them and then present your ideas in a way that aligns with their interests. Take, for example, a salesman trying to pitch a new product. If he focuses solely on the product's features or why he thinks it's a great product, the potential customer might lose interest. But if the salesman can connect the product to something the customer wants, whether it's saving time, improving their life, or solving a problem, the customer is far more likely to engage. In business, this principle can make or break a deal. Successful negotiators and salespeople know that the key to winning someone over is to make them see how fulfilling your request benefits them. So how can you apply this principle in your own life? Carnegie offers practical advice. 1. Understand what others want. Before you make a request or try to influence someone, take the time to understand their desires, motivations, and goals. What drives them? What are their aspirations? 2. Appeal to their interests. Frame your requests or ideas in a way that shows the other person how they will benefit. Make it clear how your proposal aligns with their goals. 3. Use empathy. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. Ask yourself, what would motivate me in their situation? Then use that understanding to guide your approach. 4. Communicate in terms of their wants. Always communicate in a way that highlights what the other person stands to gain. Whether you're trying to convince a colleague, a customer, or a loved one, show them how fulfilling your request will help them achieve something they care about. 5. Practice daily. Make this approach a habit in your everyday interactions. Whether you're negotiating a deal, asking for a favor, or simply engaging in conversation, always keep the other person's interests at the forefront of your mind. There are several powerful quotes from this chapter that capture the essence of Carnegie's message. The only way on earth to influence other people is to talk about what they want and show them how to get it. This sums up the entire chapter. If you want to influence someone, focus on their desires, not yours. Every act you have ever performed since the day you were born was performed because you wanted something. This quote emphasizes the universal truth that all human behavior is motivated by desire. By understanding this, you can become a more effective communicator and influencer. He who can do this has the whole world with him. He who cannot walks a lonely way. This quote speaks to the incredible power of understanding and appealing to others' desires. Those who master this skill can achieve great success and build strong, positive relationships. Chapter 3 of How to Win Friends and Influence People delivers a powerful message. The secret to influencing others lies in understanding what they want. By focusing on their desires and framing your requests in a way that speaks to their interests, you can inspire action, build stronger relationships, and achieve greater success.